Hello fellows, السلام عليكم، ايش اخباركم؟ لاباس عليكم؟ I hope that everyone is doing great. مرحبا بكم في القناة ديالكم English Speakers لتعلم اللغة الإنجليزية. Today inshallah we will learn a new grammar lesson called modal verbs. Alright, so let's get started. So, what do these modal verbs do for us? These modal verbs are used as auxiliary or helper verbs in the sentence. بمعنى أن المodal verb كتستعمل كفعل مساعد في الجملة. But you may ask, what is modality? إشنو كنعنيو modality, modal verbs? Well, I'm glad you asked. Modality is when we use these so-called modal verbs to express conditions on things. So we can use these verbs to determine if something is likely to happen, which refers to likelihood, or certainly to happen, which means certainty. So we have the first function, likelihood or certainty. Whether or not we have the ability to do something, which refers to ability. So the second function is called ability. And whether or not we have the permission to do something, which refers to the function of permission. And the last one, whether or not we have the requirement or the need or the obligation to do something, which refers to obligation need. Okay, so we have four functions: likelihood or certainty, ability, permission, obligation or need. Okay, since we know what is the meaning of modality, let's discover the modal verbs. We have may, might, must, can, could, shall, should, will, would, and that's it. Those are the modal verbs. Alright, since you have known what are the modal verbs, let's learn about their properties. Let's see what are the things they can do. First, they fit with everything. What do I mean by this? Is that you can take any subject and the modal verb will be used the same way. Let's take an example. If you take the verb speak, you say I speak, he speaks. You notice that I have added the S to the verb speak when I have used the subject he. But in the case of modal verbs, you can take any subject in any sentence and it will be used the same way. Let's take an example. I can do it, you can do it, she can do it, etc. No change. It's always going to be the same. Another property of the modal verb you should know about is that they don't have an infinitive form. There's no such a thing as to may or to can, etc. For example, you can't say I need to should. Stop, that is wrong. We call that ungrammatical. And the last thing modal verbs can do is modality, which means expressing conditions. Let's look at some examples. Must, it can be used in a different couple ways. For example, I must work on my English. This expresses an obligation that you place on yourself. So, obligation. You must not tell this to anyone. It's a secret. You are making an obligation not to do something. If you see, for example, someone who is spending a lot of money, you may say, he must be rich. You are assuming that he is rich, which refers to likelihood. Let's take another modal verb. It may rain, which refers to possibility. You may join us, which refers to permission. Another one, can. I can eat 5 pizzas, which refers to ability. Another one, the modal verb would. And this is one of my favorites. I would contribute if everyone does. So you are expressing the possibility of doing something if another condition exists. You can also use modal verbs to give an advice. For example, you should sleep early. This is an advice. We can use modal verbs to talk about something in the future. For example, he will win the competition. And so far we arrived to the end of this class. I hope you guys have learned something about modal verbs. These modal verbs are so powerful, you should learn about them. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next video.